America, welcome inside the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham, quarantining myself because I've got something that you don't want. It's been about 3 weeks, Dean, to where I have not felt human, and I did not want to come in the studios and spread that around. But wanted to say welcome into Dean Owen. I believe Rod is out on assignment today. We're brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. A lot going on. Interest rates got cut since the last time we spoke. What's that mean, Dean, in the business world as we move into Q1 of 2026?
Well, just so your listeners, we can put some context and humanize ourselves a little bit. We typically cut this at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. So
Right.
when we're wrapping up the show, 15 minutes later is when we found out what the rate cut, whether
Correct.
there was going to be a rate cut or not. So,
And we're in front of President Trump's speech tonight, too. So
right,
we
so I
record
think
this.
we may
So
have
you
a
might get a
dual
1
issue
and a
this week.
1-8 from us, knowing how things
Yeah.
go. But go ahead, Dean.
We'll try. Well, as predicted, we did cut rates, and that was very much what we predicted all along. I still think Jerome Powell may try to just hold out until he gets replaced in mid-May. We're not sure about that. But then one of the things that came out was the jobs report, and we're down significantly. This transition is going on. Looking at where those jobs are cut, it looks like most of that's been the federal workforce. So federal workforce numbers are starting to hit pretty rapidly. There was a lot of those folks that took an early retirement, but since they were still being paid up until November, then it didn't hit the jobs report. So now we can see that happening.
I was going to ask you that,
that's-
Dean. Is that how it's factored in? Let's say I work for the federal government. I decided to retire, but I'm still on the payroll, but then I'm off the payroll. How long am I on that unemployment list, so to speak, until it resets itself?
You're gainfully employed until you're no longer getting a check.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Understood.
that's why the numbers hit kind of a one-time big adjustment. But I think we're going to see some depressed numbers for the next few months, because everybody who left the federal government didn't and took an early retirement didn't leave at one time.
Gotcha.
It was a matter of waves. So we're going to have some effects there. This is a positive overall. We need to shrink our federal workforce significantly. This, and just a little bit of context. So a few weeks ago, I'm in a tax class update, and the lady who was the congressional representative for the taxpayer advocate was there with me. She's a buddy, she's a great person. She's recently retired. She's one of them that took the early retirement. She said 25,000 IRS service rep people have left the IRS. 5,000 were the new hires. 20,000 were the oldest, most knowledgeable. That was their knowledge base. So the IRS is going to go through a hot mess. But here's how backwards the IRS is. They're still transferring data via magnetic tape. Their primary servers are still running on DOS. This is before the advent of Windows. And I remember in the early 90s, I was finishing a college degree, and I had to do a paper. I was on a submarine trying to use my time smartly on a laptop using DOS and WordPerfect to do my spell check. That's how backwards the IRS is. And there's some thought that these older employees did not want any modernization because that made them super valuable. So when we hear about a modernization updates and some other things like that, unfortunately, the last time there was a big push for IRS modernization, they took the money and used it to make crazy films about Star Wars looking stuff and to attack conservative groups. I remember that period very well. Yeah, I remember that period well. I was lobbying Mitch McConnell's office for the AICPA, wanting more money for the IRS service. And Mitch McConnell, he was very straightforward and said, Dean, I know you're a constituent. I know you've got a loud voice in Western Kentucky, but I'm not giving them any more money. I know that would be good for your profession. It would not be good for America. They waste everything they get, and we're going to starve them out. I give the man credit for being very direct. He didn't wish-wash anything with me. But you've got a lot of problems within the IRS. We just got through, the president signed recently an announcement that by September, I think it's September this year, maybe November, there will be no more paper checks. All funds must be transferred electronically. Now that's creating some headache for my profession, but I understand it's a headache for my profession, but it's good for my country because it costs about 50 cents for every one of those checks they send out. That you can just eliminate that cost. So there's some transitions going on. Some of the bills that the president has signed in executive orders are really going to do good things for America, but we've got a transition here. and get away from the old system and into the new system. I think the
So
IRS
Dean,
can,
real question for you: what is tax season going to look like? You've gotten rid of the 20,000, we'll call them veterans within, and I use the word veterans very loosely, the 20,000 seasoned employees, there's a better word, seasoned IRS employees. You're going into this transition with new technology. Do you foresee your side of the fence as a CPA just being an ultimate volcano nightmare?
yes. I've been told by very
Yeah.
knowledgeable experts that we should expect this to be worse than COVID.
Wow.
And you think about that, COVID was very traumatic in the tax community because they would pass a law and then retroactively. So we've got tax returns we've already done that now have to be redone. And client doesn't want to pay twice. And I don't think they should have to, but yet I still got bills to pay, employees to pay. But there was a lot of trauma there. And I suspect we're going to see the same thing. But the IRS has been jacked up for a long time. And to tell a personal story, in early 2023, they sent me a letter that said I had not sent in a signed tax return. And I said, well, no, duh. I haven't sent in a signed tax return in over 20 years because everything's mandatory e-file. So sent them all the information that it had been filed. It was, here's the computer logs that show it was filed, it was received, the payment was made, everything's done like it was supposed to. It took them until March of this year to figure that out.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
then the claim that I didn't send in a paper tax return was just asinine, insane, because nobody does that. But there's a computer glitch somewhere. And, I think we're going to go back to that thing. If you're sending any kind of paper correspondence, wait for years. You remember when we had semi-trailers, loads of correspondence that just never got opened? And I think some of it was intentionally lost or destroyed just because of the backlog. We're going to go through some of that, but by going to digital processing of payments and more digitization and bring the IRS at least into the 20th century, maybe not the 21st, but at least the 20th, we will get much better, faster service. And I think the IRS could probably do its job with about 10% of the employees it has today.
Sure. Now, what should, as a business owner, as you're watching this right now inside the Business Pulse with Dean Owen, what should we be preparing for? Just like it's a normal year, normal everything, get all your paperwork in, or are there hiccups in the road and potholes we should be aware of?
You should plan on a normal year. You need to, and I've been screaming bloody murder for the last 6 months. You need to be getting a relationship with your CPA because this year's going to be different. The one big beautiful bill was, the administration did a horrible job of marketing that. So it was marketed as very bad for America. It's not. It's very good for America, but only if you take advantage of it. And so knowing how much depreciation to take, how much equipment to buy, what kind of stuff, you can now appreciate buildings if they're used for manufacturing, but not necessarily for something else. But maybe it's a storage building for your manufacturing. You can fully depreciate that. But if you fully depreciate it, are you going to kick yourself out of the qualified business income deduction? So a lot of planning that needs to go on. That it's very easy, straightforward planning, but it's planning needs to be done before the end of the year. Because if you need that asset, you're going to buy it sometime next year. Go ahead and buy it now, and get that, and suffer through a little bit higher interest rates just for a season. And once that season, this season passes, you can always refinance. But
excellent. Now, where can people reach out to Dean Owen to get in touch with him for that vast wealth of knowledge?
OwenCPA.com. Jump online, connect with my team. Let us help you figure out how to disconnect the government and not your kids.
Absolutely. And if you're a small business owner and you're watching this, make sure you take full advantage of the Freedom Chamber. We've got IRS knowledge inside of there, things with HR. Dean Owen has done many videos for us on a need-to-know type basis. A lot of knowledge inside of freedomchamber.net. We appreciate Dean joining us here inside the Business Pulse. And Dean, any final thoughts you've got for us?
Yeah, as just a gift, a sharing for chamber members, get online, connect with my team. First initial visit, no charge whatsoever, no charge for the conversation, friendship.
Love it. Thank you so much, Dean. We are going to really look and see what President Trump has to say as we record this on a Wednesday afternoon. Tonight could be a huge pivot point in America as we get into the golden age of America. So we look forward to seeing that. And Dean, we appreciate all that you do. And thank you for being a part of the Freedom Chamber. And thanks for being a part of the Business Pulse.
Glad to help. Glad to help. My name is Dean Owen. I'm a CPA. I have a master's degree in taxation and a personal financial specialist. Tax laws are always changing. That's why you need a tax strategist, not just a tax preparer. You need someone to help you pay the least amount of tax legally. Because if your business and retirement tax planning is not tax smart, it's probably tax dumb. Let's fix that today. Call me. Let's disinherit the government and not your kids. That's what my team and I do. This is who we are. I'm a combat veteran, unapologetically American, unapologetically pro-God, pro-life, and pro-Second Amendment. If those are the values you seek in a tax and money advisor, call us. Again, let's disinherit the government and not your kids. We're not afraid to share our values, and we share them with you.